All right, so today we're talking about identity program insights. Before we get started, I'm just going to say one blanket statement. I don't envy your job whatsoever. Right? The complexities that have been applied to you by your levels of management to try to understand what you're doing in identity and access management is difficult and it's complex. They just don't seem to understand these things. So what we've tried to do is come up with a method so that we can better understand how we can look at the totality of your identity and access management program, give you a single place to look at it, and span across all of the different pillars: governance, access management, privilege access management, whether it's workforce or if it's consumer identity, to give you insights into how your business is running. So I'm Sean Harris, I'm from IDMWORKS. I'm responsible for our go-to-market team as well as our delivery team inside the organization. And we've spent a long time coming up with a method that will be suitable for all of our enterprise clients to really understand how all of these programmatic tools come together to one cohesive programmatic story. So today we're going to talk about 4 different topics: the challenges in the program and the associated visibility issues that we see, requirements for programmatic insight. I said we're going to do a demonstration. Unfortunately, it's probably a whole lot easier. I've got a couple screenshots we can go through. Anybody wants to see live demonstration, I can do very quickly after, if we can get some internet connectivity. We'll talk about some of the benefits that we've been able to produce for our clients with this kind of visibility. So look, we break delivery into 4 distinct areas, 4 different services. Right? So if you think about from a perspective of guiding and helping people understand what needs to be done within their identity program, launch, bringing those programs to reality with installation, configuration, customization, connection, and bringing more tools together, whether that be connecting to environments that are difficult to speak to, whether that's using bots to connect to a larger aspect of technology, what we're going to talk about today in insights, and then finally management and being able to encompass all things identity from a single consumable service. All right, so we'll talk through all of these things, but number 1, a visibility problem. So who in the room has a single place to go to look at the entirety of your identity and access management program? One place. Nobody. And this is the problem that all of our clients have brought to us as we start to work with customers on, hey, we'll deploy this piece of technology, we'll deploy this piece of technology, bringing those things together so they can get accurate views that give them information about how the technology aligns to their business. It's very, very difficult. All right? First and foremost, an identity program is not a single technology deployment, made up of multiple vendors, multiple technologies, and for some vendors, it's not only multiple technologies across vendor, but one vendor, multiple pieces of tech, and that technology doesn't always talk to itself, right? Second, every vendor has their own methodologies. It comes to, these are the reports I run, these are my dashboards, these are my insights, right? These are the things that I'm doing, this is the interface. You're already frustrated with the fact that you've got to go this GUI, that GUI, this GUI to do things cross-enterprise, right? When you have to run those reports, you go to this interface and you run a report, you run this interface and you run a report, you run this interface, you run a different report. But if I'm trying to do something from a governance perspective, sometimes I run a report that says, how many users did I create? Now from an access, how many users use that access? Which users are using the most access? I've got to run multiple reports to get these kinds of insights. But all of these different reports are limited. They're very specific to the report that I'm running. It's not a super general, all things, one data dump, and I can bring it in, run some Excel pivot table, and see everything that I want to know about my business. And if you're doing your reporting in Excel, we need to talk. And reports are static, right? They're only as good as when I started running them. So how do we solve that problem? How do we get around these things? Identity tools have information, right? But it's the information that the vendor wants you to have. about the operational aspect of what's going on? How many of your identity tools are also telling you about how somebody is misusing the technology? How many of these tools are actually giving you SIM insight to be able to say, hey, you know what? We granted access, but now the access is being abused. I've seen 5 failed logins followed by 1 access login. Am I getting that kind of material from it, or am I just getting something high level? And of course, you can run your own reporting tools, and you can pull data out, and you can look at things. But now you're on the hook for actually running your own customization. Add to this the reality of the fact that your business probably needs different insight to different pieces of information related to identity. You've got multiple personas that you have to satisfy in a day-to-day. Does your CIO need the same information as your network admins? No, probably not. Do they want it? Maybe. Have they ever asked you for it? Once in a while, so you have to be ready to be able to provide these things. But more often than not, and what we see with our clients, is the fact that the board and the C-suite, they want to see things that are more related to compliance. Okay? Your CISO may want to see, can you show me how you're using the technology that you told me you needed $10 million to buy and deploy, and are we getting value from it? The program owners need to make sure that we're connected to things. And then finally, the network operations team, right, and the support desk, they want to see if there's any issues with what we're running through. Okay, so you've got a lot of different areas that we need to address as we go through this programmatic journey that you've got. And like I said before, I don't envy your position, right? Because keeping up with how many technologies, how many tools? 10 in an average deployment? It's more like 20. Right? And if you look at what the industry is saying, it's soon to be 50. And the lines of business are running their own applications on demand, and now you've got to be able to report on these things and to be able to report valid information across all of those different levels. So we look at this and say, hey, look, let's take a look at all of this information. Let's understand it from 4 specific areas. The business level. Can I give an executive summary that says, yes, Mr. CIO, Mr. Chairman of the board, we are compliant with X, NIST. Who adheres to a NIST guideline? Anybody? HIPAA, right? You name it, PCI, right? You can list out 100 of them. To be able to say, look, I am ticking off these clauses, I'm ticking off these use cases that I need to be compliant with, because that's what they really want to know. Am I de-risking my business? At the security level, to be able to decide, hey, look, in my identity world, am I de-risking my business? Are people hacking into the machines that are running my identity program? Can I see these things? The program and the product level, being able to look at a simple dashboard that gives me multiple views at one time to be able to look at all of this information in a very streamlined manner so that I can actually look through these things and see, as a good friend of mine has said, the red blinking lights. Otherwise, you're going to pour yourself a volume of information to look through and determine if there is something that seems out of band. Okay? If I can give you a real-time dashboard that says, this is a problem, okay? This increases value of my identity and access management program. And then finally, and probably least important to you here, is this concept of operational and support level, okay? The machines, for those of you that aren't, fully, in the cloud yet, right? Of course, we still have some things that are running legacy. Are the machines that are running the core parts of my infrastructure, are the CPUs about to go past the acceptable limits? Or is there anything that's now spiking that I need to know about so I can go make corrections as we go? So instead of doing a demo, I captured a number of screenshots. I apologize. It's just a whole lot easier for me to talk through some of these things. So what we've done is we've taken this information, we've organized it into consumable panels. Okay? On the screen in front of you is NIST, right? And taking a look at regulatory compliance issues and looking at the NIST clauses. And this is high level. This is the first level that we can see within NIST. And what I want you to envision is a configurable set of widgets that you can align that makes the most sense to you. Because your business is different than your business. What you need is not the same thing I need. So I take a look at these things and I say, look, NIST has a number of clauses, and those clauses represent themselves in a number of different areas, right? The identify, respond, detect, protect, and recover. And the combination of tools that I'm using today give me the ability to address, in protect, 18 of 39 different clauses. It's great academic information, okay? But it's not really usable yet because I don't know exactly which clauses I'm working with. So now I can say, based on my combination of tools, if I'm using SailPoint and CyberArk and Ping as the use case is what I'll talk through today. If I look at this combination of tools, to be able to say, and apologies for the eye chart, right? For this use case, it's impacted in the detect set of clauses, these specific clauses. And I know what your next question is, which is, oh, what the hell do these clauses mean, right? You've got all these clauses, and it looks a little bit like gibberish because I haven't memorized all the NIST documentation. But to be able to look through and then be able to cross-reference and say, hey, listen, this clause, this NIST clause, has this specific use case, and according to SailPoint, this is how SailPoint addresses this, and here are the processes that we're using, okay? To be able to take this kind of program information, to be able to take your identity program and make it usable, to make it speak to an improvement in your environment, is my opinion. Look, and I've been in the identity and access management space now for 25 years plus, but I've never seen this. I've never seen people actually be able to land the plane with this kind of information to say, here's how I'm de-risking the information, here's how I'm compliant with NIST, which gives me the ability to show it to people that don't necessarily understand what I do for a living. Before I go any further, is there a CIO in the room? Any CIOs? So you guys know what I'm talking about, right? They're not here. We can talk about them, okay? You're not a CIO. So let's go down one level, right? Up in the top left. Hey, attempted brute force attacks. I want to know about an account that has 5 or more, and you set parameters, 5 or more failed logins before a successful login. That may be a brute force attack. Look, we run this environment in our labs, and we've been fortunate, right? And when we first brought this online, in the second day, we saw this number starting to increment. What's going on? And then what we were able to do, we were able to click on the well, you see the big green box? Well, I'm happy to say it's 0 now. We click on that box, which was incrementing to a number that turned it red. We clicked on it, and then we saw unsuccessful login from Ukraine. I do not have users in Ukraine. I just don't. So now we've got an IP address that we can look at, and we knew that this box is maybe exposed, and we're able to take it offline. To be able to look at new local admin accounts. Do you guys allow people to create their own admin accounts in your environment? No, right? You sure don't. But do you have something that helps you look at this kind of information that says, hey, look, I've got all of these controls from SailPoint and CyberArk and Ping. I've got this information, but yet I'm seeing new local admin accounts pop up, right? To be able to look at the identity infrastructure that you've put in place, that you spent millions of dollars to deploy, to be able to see this kind of information. Then we can dig down into the product levels, right? Remember, we talked about 4 different levels. We talked about the business level, the security level. Let's talk about the product levels. To be able to take the valid use cases from each of the products that I'm looking at, I'm a SailPoint admin. I want to look at all of the things, the KPIs and the KRIs that come out of my SailPoint environment. Put them on a single panel that I can configure to tell me whatever story it is that I need to understand, right? I want to know how many of my provisioning requests have failed. Okay, it looks a whole lot better in demonstrations when we fail a lot of them. That's why we got 409. Now imagine the case if we were doing a live demonstration. That number, I click on that number. It can show me all the requests that failed. So I can now look at the environments where they're failing. Do I have something that's offline? Do I have a connector that's broken? I can look at the certifications, right, down at the bottom, which is a trend on certifications, and see what kind of campaigns are being launched. I know I need this many certifications done this quarter because that's where my security policy is. Am I getting what I need to see? we can go forward. We can look at CyberArk, right? We can look at CyberArk and we can look at these things and say, hey, how many successful logins have we seen, to my environment? How many fails? Which environments are there? How many new vaults have been created, or entities inside my vaults have been created? Whatever it is that you want to see, if it's information that the vendor can access and produce into a report, you can actually pull that information out and organize it in a simple panel so that you can see all of the things on the same screen in what I will call near real time, right? It still needs time to come out of the log. It still needs time to go through, and be searched and presented visually. And then you can see I've got a lot more tiles here, right? To be able to look at things like your access management and really understand, okay? I want to look at this application, which users are accessing it. I want to see which are the top used applications. Can I tell you the most important metrics to use for your business? I cannot. I can recommend a few. I can recommend some things that people are using, but I can't tell you what's important to you. Therefore, we create this customizable environment so that you can see your own set of red blinking lights, so that you can see the insights that are important to you, okay? Furthermore, you can build the master dashboard, right? What I've shown you so far is pieces of information organized by topic. Would it be nice to be able to see a dashboard that says, this is the total number of users that I have created. Next widget, this is the total number of those users that are privileged. Third widget, this is the total number of times that the privileged users have accessed their entitlements. Maybe, but it's a story, and it's an insight, okay? We configure these things with our clients to make sure that we're telling them the story. We're showing them the value of the technology that's coming from the investments that they've made over time in the overall identity and access management programs. I mentioned earlier some of the infrastructure. So in this environment, I'm running 3 machines, and I can see very, very quickly, oh my God, everything is running in the red. We don't like to run in the red. We need to go call the admins, and we need to take a look and understand why things are hitting peaks. Have you ever tried to run a task and the machine failed? Yeah, we all have. I mean, that's just a reality of life. But to be able to see these things on a dashboard that says, hey, based on the speedometer gauge, watch this, I've got one of these, way over here, right? I'm okay, I'm failing, right? I'm about to die on this machine in the middle. So that I can respond before the problem exists. So how many of you have to adhere to continuous monitoring, right? And understand all of the constant monitoring processes and try to get ahead of information, right? Are you being pushed to this? Let the machine do it. Let the machine do it, right? Understand, be able to consume the information over time to be able to drive that information forward. And then finally, support tickets. Look, this is a bigger value for organizations that are pushing information off to a help desk in a managed services environment, as an example, to be able to see, hey, look, I've got 3 pieces of technology that are running inside of somebody else's environment, because we all know I don't have enough people anymore to run the entirety of my program, so therefore I have to push things out as a service. Can I track what's going on with that help desk? How many times are the products failing? How many tickets are being opened, right? It's always fun to have things that tell fun stories. 2,800 tickets that are opened, 2,721 of those have an owner, and there's 135 of the tickets that haven't been picked up yet. That's a big problem, right? If you've got 135 help desk tickets that haven't been assigned to an owner, are we making good progress? Are we getting through SLAs, right? How many incidents have actually breached the SLA? It's that kind of information to understand what it is that you're looking for. What are the keys that drive your consumption of this information? So let's talk a little bit about the benefit. Benefit is something like this, is to be able to look at a single view of multiple technologies. To be able to look at this that says, look, this is how my business runs. This is the value that I'm bringing back to my business overall. To do this in real time, so I have something that's actionable, so I can address problems before the problems actually exist, and something that can be customized to your specific needs, to be able to illustrate the fact that the way that we run our business indicates the fact that we need to know this information. Again, one of our CISO clients has expressed to me, he says, I run my governance environment with 5 KPIs, okay? And I have to run those reports aggressively and understand which are here. Can I see those 5 KPIs linearly? Yes, you can. Do you need anything else? Nope, I run my business with these 5, okay? Customized to your environment, customized to where you're going. With that, I'm going to stop and I'm going to answer any questions that you might have as we talk through. Questions? Yes, sir, in the front. How does the reporting infrastructure connect to all of the different technologies that we're referencing? Right. So what we do is we connect to each of those different products, right? And we're able to access the logs. All of the technologies have some reporting interface, some data interface where they can produce logs, right? So our data manipulation engine, right, our analysis engine connects into those logs. So as long as I can gain access to that log, I can manipulate the data, I can present it in usable format. It is. Actually, we're using Splunk on the backside, right? So we adhere to best practice standard, right? We use the Splunk engine overall. So anything that you can do within Splunk, if you have your own Splunk environment, right, we have the ability to provide benefit there. We use our own use cases, our own connectivity methodology to be able to manipulate the data. Correct. Correct. As long as, I mean, you know how Splunk works, right? As long as you can pull that data in, it can be manipulated, it can be presented back. So that's right. No worries, I've got runtime, right? The concept is I've got the Splunk, I've got the environment that can be used to do exactly that. Okay? You don't need to be a Splunk user. It's not your concern. Please. Yes. Specifically, what do you mean? Nope, it's actually, we configure and we look at that information within the data model itself so that we set those parameters and we say when we see these kinds of things. So I'm not looking at SIM information across the entirety of the enterprise. I'm looking at the identity program, right? Everything that's running on the identity program. And we can pull that same information from log file. Sorry? Yes. Other questions? Yes, sir. Just remember, at this range, you are in the splash zone.
So you said you guys are running on the Splunk backend. Does that mean you can set up alerts so if you crest 85% on CPU for X amount of time, you can send out an alert?
That is correct. Yeah, one thing, and apologies. So I pulled a number of screenshots, not a comprehensive set of screenshots. We do have a customizable alert panel as well. So you can look at and say, hey, these are the thresholds at which point I want to be alerted to something, whether it's presented on the screen or any other methodology that's acceptable via Splunk. But yes. Okay, in the coming couple of minutes, we're going to transition. We're going to start talking a little bit about robotic process automation and how we can use bots and RPA to extend the reach of identity and access management programs into those applications that are currently disconnected and a little bit harder to reach overall. So I do want to say thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your time.